And welcome to a very special webinar. This is in fact a test session, but we have everybody here. So first of all, I'd like to welcome our very special guest, Alex Collier. Good afternoon, Alex. This is
Good afternoon, James. James and JP, how are you?
James
Okay.
has to unmute himself as well to make himself heard.
Yes,
So,
I've unmuted myself.
Since we have a few minutes, let me just share something with you that we're going to talk about. And one of the biblical characters was a young rabbi by the name of Jesus Malathiel. And he was a rabbi, but he was also a militant. Wasn't happy with Rome. And apparently this is the man that Constantine's mother went to find, but they never did find his body, okay? But they had said had been crucified. Well, he never did die, and the way they said, and that's why the Catholic Church, when they did the first testing of the Shroud of Turin, they sabotaged the original testings because they were afraid that the cloth, should it actually be the same person, would show that the man wasn't dead. They were terrified of that because the premise of Christianity is the death and resurrection. Well, according to the A's, this particular Jesus actually fought with the freedom fighters at Masada. And there is a cave that is archaeologists call the Cave of the Bones, Cave of Bones. And in there is the remains of 15, 17, 18 people. Most of them children, some of them middle-aged, and there is one gentleman, one remains of an old man in his 70s. According to the A's, that's the Jesus. Those are his remains. And what isn't shared with us is the fact that when they uncovered that cave, there were scrolls that were found that were written by the same Jesus, which make reference to a family that had fled the Middle East, Judea, that had gone to far off outer lands of the Roman Empire, didn't mention them by specifics, and makes reference to his wife Mary. And of course, those were all skirted away and are probably in the Vatican archives somewhere. But I wanted to bring that up because, you know, people need a perspective in the event that they decide to go through with the planned staging of the Second Coming. And, you know, the end time scenario, if they intend to play it out, people need to be aware of the fact that the biblical Jesus was in fact a composite character and was just a man, not the son of the creator of the entire galaxy, universe, and all the dimensions thereof. So I'm still working on how I'm going to present that, but I thought I would just share that with you guys. There's a lot of other things to share that have nothing to do with that. But we are pretty soon, we're going to be in a whole new level of weird on the planet. And that's one of the scenarios, you know, the religious fervor and the building up of this incredible amount of fear so that everyone will surrender themselves, you know, to a savior, either light or dark, as opposed to standing and empowering themselves, you know, to be their true God selves, or as close as possible. So, anyway, any thoughts?
yeah, well, back to the whole biblical thing. I remember you said also once a long time ago that the story of Moses and the Exodus from Egypt and all that stuff is the story of the Chaldeans.
That's
and
correct.
Not the Israelites. And
That's correct. But do you know where the name Israel came from? The name Israel came from one of Moses' sons, who changed his name from Joshua to Israel. The Israelites were his people, his tribe. They were actually Chaldean Egyptian. They were not Jews. They were never Jews. And everybody mistakes that now, that all the Jews were the Israelites. That isn't true in history. But, you know, they've clouded history so much by hiding all the records and burning so much of them that almost no one knows what's really happened in the past. You know, and what's really, really interesting is, you know, there are still people that espouse a flat earth. There are still people who say, well, creation's only been here 5,000 years. There's some scientists now that are saying that the mitochondria in the bloodstream only dates humanity at 5,000 years, which of course is absolute absurdity. Just what's going on in Antarctica, the uncovering of parts of Atlantis 3 miles under the ice. You know, that's what they're doing down there. It's nothing more than a huge archaeological dig. But there's almost no information coming out of there. They have pretty much locked it all down. But there are tons and tons of people down there digging, making tunnels. And what they're also doing is they're pulling out any kind of extraterrestrial technology that they can find buried in the ice. You know, they're holding on to all that and moving it out.
This is Stargate Atlantis, isn't it? Essentially.
I've said all along that Stargate was pretty accurate.
Yeah, more or less a documentary. So now here's a really important point, which you may or may not want to bring up in your presentation. But I believe that there is a psyop going on right now that is to catch the gullible, and you know, go back to there is a current movement of flat earthers. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's this he's supposed to be a ex-NASA employee, and he said that he used to retouch all the paintings, all the pictures, which is fair enough. And then he starts going on that you know, that NASA's been lying to us, and it's actually been you know, the Earth is flat and there's a dome. And I tell you, for me, whenever I hear anybody talk about this, I get like, it feels like somebody's putting a great big clamp on my head and tightening it and tightening and tightening it. Do you think that it's part of the alien invasion psyop? Or some people say it's also like a Catholic thing. It's to kind of catch the Catholics in their sort of, they'll believe anything the Pope tells them kind of thing.
Well, that's an interesting thought. JP, you know, the whole point is the dark side, the consortium, whatever you want to call it, the empire, what they would love to do is just to have everybody mentally and spiritually shut down. That would make their job very, very easy. As far as the church, I understand the Pope is supposed to be addressing the UN in 33, 34 days. And there's quite a bit of speculation about what he could say. But, you know, you go back to the work of Santos Bonacci, where he talked about the original trusts that the Vatican created, where they basically declare that they own the earth and every human being and soul on it. You know, they still operate from that premise, you know, that we're their property. And it could be that that's where they're going to go with this. We'll know when we know. But I can assure you the earth isn't flat. I mean, I just laugh when I hear this shit. And I don't even want to, it's just like, oh my God, you know, come on. But okay,
it might be worthwhile.
Anyway, so, you know, all you can do is just give the information of what you absolutely know and just release it and let people make up their own mind. You can't convince anybody of anything. But I think that's what they do, you know, just cloud it up so that no one knows what to believe. And what they will do is they will just shut down mentally and detach themselves. And you got to remember something. Energy goes where focus goes. Energy flows where focus goes. And they want to control the flow and the focus. They really do. So, you know, like I said, we're gonna be moving into a whole new level of weird here very, very soon.
Oh, good. I do like weird. It's my hometown, just south of normal.
Well, I hope you're ready for this because it's going to be strange.
Oh, that's all right. No, no, the new weird. Because now we're here at the new normal. We're sort of pushing ahead with the new weird. I tell you what. Well, apart from the fact that my head feels like it's being squeezed into something too small, is that there's an awful lot of swearing. They cuss a lot, these flat earthers, and very much like certain other people, they try to convince by basically bullying and shouting and not being reasonable. So but luckily we're not going to have people coming in onto the call, but I'm pretty sure we'll get the one or two questions about that, because that's like one of the current mad memes that's going around, isn't it, James?
That's right.
Well, a lot of people don't respond to that kind of harassment anymore. Most people are pretty done with all that crap. They really are. One of the things about waking people up is that the first thing they do is they decide to make their own decisions. And that's a really good thing. And I think that there's more than enough of us who are in that space. I mean, just evidence here in the United States about how everybody feels about politicians. If any of them were to run again, minus Donald Trump, they probably couldn't get elected dog catcher. So, it's a good thing. It's just that, they have invested 1,000 years in putting this plan together to get us all to surrender our sovereignty and our free will. And that's the plan, and they're not going to stop until they're forced to stop. And we haven't reached that point yet. And that's why things are getting so weird. I mean, there's all these folks talking about, the good guys have won, it's all over. It's not over. It's not over until it's over. And I don't know that we'll know when that point is. I think maybe collectively we will, when all resistance to creating a true expression of joy has ceased, and then all of a sudden joy begins to manifest everywhere. I think at that point, that's when we'll know, that it's game over for the dark side. But we're not there yet. We're definitely not there yet.
Well, I think definitely that's another topic to bring up. That really brought the tears to my eyes when you just said that, because that's the truth. That's totally true. We won't know until the resistance is gone, and it's really strange because there have been times in the last few months and weeks that it does feel like the resistance has certainly dropped. It's like they're starting to lose the ball, but they're still holding it tight. But bits of the ball are falling apart in their hands, it seems.
Well, I'll tell you an interesting thing. A lot of people, and I think other contactees and even abductees have talked about this, about the frequency shield around the Earth to keep us sedated for the most part. Have you heard about that? There's electronic frequency, this fence around the planet.
Yes.
Is
this archonic fence?
Yes. Well, I can tell you that from my experience with Mornay and Phaseus, when they would come and see me and I would go aboard the ship, if we didn't leave the atmosphere, what they would do is they would sit in that fence and they would freak it out. And they did it on purpose. And I know others are doing the same thing. They will position themselves in the fence and they will, they will cause it to disintegrate in areas and put huge holes in the fence, and so that information gets in and out that's been building here, a kinetic psychic energy. What they'll do is they'll sit inside this fence and they will blow huge holes in it on purpose so that information gets out and information gets back in. This is very similar to what happened to the Procyons when they broke free from the Greys and the older Orion Empire.